Good morning, everybody. This is episode 3, final step, determination, the decision that changes everything. So what is determination? Determination for me is about I'm not happy where I'm at, whether it's physically, spiritually, or even at my job. So the question becomes, if I'm determined, then that means I have to accept new patterns, new disciplines that's going to help me to get progress to move in the direction that I say that I want to be. Because I can stand around and say, hey, I've got determination. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I don't ever take the time to either write it on paper to solidify it and know what my goals are. And I'm not really determined. I'm just blowing a lot of hot air. So what I would recommend is decide what you want in life. What do you want to actually change in your life? Whether it's your finances, like I said, your spiritual journey, whatever that is, what it looks like for you. Whether it's relationship with your wife. Are we in a position in our marriage, as I'm trying to work on it myself, to be more respectful and to understand and be more in tune to what she needs from me. And that includes listening and understanding where she's at, not trying to get her to where I'm at. And always I have a habit sometimes of pulling the nail out of your forehead rather than actually listening and being a sounding board, because maybe that's all she wants. Because the last thing I want in my marriage is I don't want a marriage that is based upon transaction where you do this and I do this. And it's like, no, it needs to be truly, I love her just like when we were dating. That means I'm going to do anything I can for you. And the best thing that I can do for my wife is actually to become the best version of me. You know, we've kind of changed our pattern in our marriage to let me be the best that I can be for you if you will be the best that you can be for me. Because that's going to make it a lot healthier marriage, and that's something that we both want, and I want in my life. I want to be an example of that. You know, determination also, like in my spiritual journey. I want to consistently spend time with God in the morning because that should be the foundation of my day where everything starts. So when I do that, number one, I'm telling myself that I'm dependable because I continue to do these disciplines every single day. I don't miss. And the exciting part about I have the determination to change, a word that I like to use now is called not, well, I need to change, I should change. No, I must. When things become a must, then that means I can and I will change. Because a lot of times I've went through these things in my life of patterns of, well, I should do this and I should do that, but I'm not really doing it. All I'm doing is shooting all over myself. So I don't want to do that. I want to make a determination to say, okay, these are the steps I need to change. These are the patterns that I need to create in my life. I can look back in my own life. It's like post-COVID. I looked at the advertisements and they said Krav Maga. And I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I need the fitness level because at that point in time, my body weight was really high. My numbers were high as far as blood work, my cholesterol, blood sugar. It just really wasn't in a good place. And like my dad used to say, and I will continue to repeat, at the end of the day, nobody's going to take care of you but you. So I decided, all right, I'm going to go down there and join. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I went down there for the first class. And what's the first thing we started to do? Moving around and jumping. And then I had to do push-ups. And my body's like, really? You're going to do what? And because I've allowed myself to get in such a poor physical state, everything about me was screaming. It was saying, dude, I don't want to do this. This sucks. I'm going to quit. But you know what? Because of my determination, I made a decision that day. I said, BS. This is a belief system I am no longer going to hang on to. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I pushed through it. And I kept pushing through it. And my determination even led me to an injury. They paired me up with a guy who was a black belt. Obviously, had a lot more experience than I did. I didn't even properly understand how to hold the bag. So he kept coming at me. What ended up happening is I came back and he struck me again, the pad, and it hyperextended my right knee. So I got an injury that I'm still struggling with today. Did I quit? No, I did not. Because I had made a decision, I was determined, regardless, I'm going to make this happen. What I did in that process of determination is I didn't allow any distractions in my life. So the end result is I pushed through, and about a year or so later, I tested for the Blue Belt test. And that was a very unique experience because the Blue Belt test, the first hour and a half, I was soaked with my shirt all the way down to my freaking socks. And that was literally the hardest thing physically, emotionally, spiritually I've ever done in my life. But I kept pushing, and I got to that, and I felt an incredible amount of satisfaction. My blood sugar came down. I lost about 30 pounds. There was a lot of great things that happened because I didn't give up on my determination. The only challenge with that is once I achieved that, I didn't reset my goals. I didn't create that vision of, okay, what's the next discipline thing that I'm going to attack? Where do I want to go from here? So what ended up happening is I fall back into old patterns, and that determination that I had, it disappeared. So what I need to do is find something new. So it took some years for me to get to that point. And then here recently in January, I turned 60. This was like a huge wake-up call for me. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not getting any younger. I need to do something with my life. I've allowed this weight to come back on because I didn't discipline myself. I didn't have a determination that I'm going to lose this. So I had to get back to that starting point of saying, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm done with this crap. I want to move on with my life. So I've created disciplines, and I had to stack small things. It was about 15 minutes of cardio in the morning before I go to work. And that started out at twice a week, 3 times a week. And then I would build on that, and I'd say, okay, well, once a week, let's do 30 minutes. Let's push a little bit harder. I mean, these are simple things to do, but guess what? They're also simple not to do. You know, the story that I think is rather funny is like when I grew up, at my age, I learned the adage of an apple a day will keep the doctor away. Not a Hershey bar, not a cheeseburger. So I messed that one up. But now, because I'm determined to change, do I still have a cheeseburger? Yeah, once a month. Not every doggone week. That does me no good. That doesn't fit my health goals of me wanting to be around here for my wife and for my family. So I continue to build these habits, these patterns. And here it is now. I mean, we're talking April. So January, February, March, and April. Okay, 3 months. It's a short amount of time. But because I'm determined to change things in my life, now I study in the morning. I read about a half an hour every morning. And on top of that, I've got a half hour of exercise. I do resistance training on Tuesday, which ends up being about 40 minutes. I do all this before I go to work. See, it's more comfortable to stay in bed, to just not do anything. That's the easy route. Well, the easy route's going to end in regret. So the determination that I have is to continue these patterns that I have created. Number one, because so I can inspire people like you that are watching this thinking, okay, I'm too old, or I'm just out of shape, I just don't have the energy. Well, I tell you what, buddy, I didn't either. You know, one of the things that I've had to learn, and I'm continuing to learn on this journey as you join with me, is I have control over my emotions. I don't control the thought that immediately comes into my head, but the next one, that's on me. So how do I respond to life? How do I respond to the challenges? Okay, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing this. I'm determined. I'm determined to change. So I've created the patterns. I have the discipline. I have the depth of understanding what I need to do, what's involved in the process, and therefore I've lost weight. I feel better. And because I choose to have an emotional state that is more positive. And I'm not talking about positive thinking crap that, okay, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, no weeds. I'm sorry, dude, there's weeds in your yard. It's about understanding reality, what it is. I just don't make it worse than what it is. So what I've had to do is continue this journey, because I know each and every day I feel great because I did it. It's hard, but now 80% of the chronic pain at 60 years of age, because I've got bad knees, I got a torn shoulder, wah, wah, wah. The truth of the matter is about 80% of the pain that I used to experience is gone. I'm thinking, wow, this focus thing, what is this? So now I'm determined to continue to focus on things that are going to benefit me, benefit my life, understanding that determining to read more, to learn from people that have done it. We have library that has a wealth of information. Why do we not take books out and actually read them? Books on better health, learning from somebody who has the spiritual journey, the relationship with God, that I desire. Am I going to learn from my neighbor who doesn't go to church, doesn't care? Not that he's not of value, but that doesn't help me get where I want to be. So in my determination, I have to be disciplined in the steps that I take, the patterns I create, the stacking, the activities that get me where I want to go. So I don't want to drag onto this too long, but I just felt, this episode 3 of the 3 pillars, I really wanted to put a little more depth, a little bit more time into this. And like I said before, please hit like, please hit subscribe. If there's anything that I said here that you question or that has been of value to you, please reach out. Send me a question. Let's have a conversation. Because after all, not only do I do this as accountability for my own life, I want you to live your best life. Because I know you can. You're an amazing person. You have talents. You have gifts. So through this journey, let you become the best you. And for now, till next week, God bless and have an awesome day.